gearing to the back wheels. And they come, some are only single speed, some are 2-speed, and 1 or 2 are 3-speed. Most agricultural engines like this are 2-speed. The interesting thing about a compound is that the steam goes into one cylinder and then exhausts into the second cylinder and then up to the chimney. Now you can't use the steam twice, but what it does is that steam expands, and that expands the steam over 2 processes and loses less heat in the process. It's all down to thermodynamics, but what you can tell with a compound engine is that it extracts much more effort out of the steam. You don't hear so much barking up the chimney, and it's thermally much more efficient. And the English traction engine was in fact thermally a very good machine. It compares very favourably with most railway engines. The cylinder block on the top is surrounded by steam as well, so everything's kept warm and it can be machined to very fine tolerances. We think these things are somehow or other crude, but I can assure you they're not. Fowler's were big manufacturers in Leeds, probably the biggest traction engine manufacturers in the country, and they perhaps productionised traction engines more than anybody else. They made a huge number of different types of traction engine rollers, but were very famous for the steam ploughing engines, where there was a big winch drum underneath the boiler, and ploughing was taking place by pulling a plough backwards and forwards across the field with 2 ploughing engines. We've had ploughing engines here before, and indeed Tom's son Robert has restored one, and we've used that for demonstrations in the arena. They are monstrous engines, and the largest traction engines you'll ever see in Britain. They weren't much used around Bromyard because it's too hilly, the fields are too small, but down Longhope there's a firm there, and of course Collins Family of Info was steam ploughing well into the 50s. The traction engine, because it's such a heavy instrument, was found to be very useful for crushing and flattening roads, and that's how the steamroller came about. And the engine which is following it, which is Ian Mason's and the family's engine, is another Fowler. Yeah. Yes, do it like yesterday, Tom. Thank you. So how they developed it was by having a roller on a perch bracket in the front, so it rolled the centre of the roads, and the 2 wheels at the back obviously did the 2 sides. The steamroller was not only rolled the roads, but you can see on the back a thing that looks like a ship's wheel. When you wind that down, that's called a scarifier, and it can tear up the old road surface. And of course it can pull implements and things around, and you can drive a rock crusher off the flywheel, so it's a bit of an all-purpose instrument. And the steam roller was the last machine to be used on the roads, and of course Herefordshire Council still owns its old number 3, which in the late 60s rolled in the stone for the new Bromyard bypass. And in 1967 this show started as a means of celebrating the opening of Bromyard bypass, which was laid by steam. The next one, which is, you can see, is not quite finished yet, is another Fowler, a Fowler 8-ton T3 roller, which used to work up in the Crewe area and worked there until 1961 and went into preservation afterwards. Now, the Hill family, and particularly Barney, who's driving it, who is about to start work as an apprentice boilermaker on the Severn Valley Railway, have done a lot of work on this to get it back into operation. It's being restored very faithfully to its proper road rolling condition. There's been quite a few steamrollers that people have converted into traction engines, which isn't correct, really, if you're preserving things. And the Hill family are quite passionate about the fact that a steamroller should be a steamroller, and they're restoring it as far as possible close to its original specification. We've got another roller in front of us now, which is Dave Godwin's engine called Roadrunner. It's a 1921 Aveling and Porter, worked up into Chesterfield and Derbyshire County Council, and David's had it since 2004. They've done a huge amount of work on the boiler and such like. David, being a very fine joiner, of course, has made that rather splendid canopy. It's very slow going.